Hey guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Well, perhaps we should start from the beginning. This is a fine gem of a very, very abused Sweet 16. Just zoom on down in here so we can see the details of our fine solder work that has taken place in here. Is she a beauty? Stop it. I know you guys are impressed. I know that you're like, wow, the last guy that worked on this was a professional. Believe me, that was the same opinion I had. Especially with this switch here. Isn't that why? Professional. Well, our mission here today, we choose to accept it. Make it a Mission Impossible throwback theme there. Is we're going to gut this ugly pig. We're going to clean it all up, and we're going to turn it into something that somebody's going to be interested to having. And it's not staying here. I don't care where it goes, but it can't stay here, and it's got to go away. So let's start this crazy train. First, let's strip everything out of here we're not going to use again. You know the fun part about this job is if I have an idea and I want to experiment, I get to go do it. I just get to go do it. No one gets to tell me no. Hey man, go try. What's the worst that's going to happen? I fail. Been happening for a long time. So let's get on down here. This is all the stuff I took out that I'm not going to reuse. Absolutely pointless to reuse it. And we stripped out everything that we're not going to reuse in the rebuild process. I know, it looks like butthole. It's okay. Have faith it won't by the time I'm done. I've always wanted to do this, what I'm getting ready to do to this box right now. So let's see how this turns out. All right, I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to go wash it and make it look new again. Newer. Yeah, ish. Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful weekend morning. And in the last segment, what I was talking about was I get to do whatever I want electrically. It's the beauty of working for myself. I'm not stuck to doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I don't want you guys to get confused. Because that's all I get to do whatever. I do to a certain degree. In certain aspects, I do. This is all the stuff I took out of this box. This is where we ended up. Now, my question that I had to myself, and the whole reason I'm doing this, is because I wonder what the electrical effects will be by changing a few things. Like, if I remove a single turn out of the input transformer, what's that going to do to my match with these particular style of combiners and the turn ratios there? So it's going to change my inductance and my impedance quite a bit. The other thing is I wanted to get rid of the little tiny transformers that get super saturated and get hot and go to my style transformers. And they've got 1,000 puff, 1% capacitors on them, mine, versus these 5%, 1,200 puff caps. The input and output network was completely burned up on this box. We cannot forget how tore up this amplifier was when it came in here. It had switches hanging out of it. It had stuff melted. It had parts burnt. It was exploded, beat up, haggard pile of dick poop. Okay. So I took an ugly, worthless amplifier and gutted it and decided I would just start over. I've always wanted to stamp out a solid copper board that fit up with the stock locations of the transistors and replace all this hibby-jibby and build it up my way. And we know what the results would be. It would probably produce like 2400 watts peak power, right? So I've never tried this before. The very first amplifier I built, well, not the first, one of the first ones I built for everybody to consume was for my friend Fred. We just lost Fred here just a couple months ago, and his daughter told me that she would sell me back that amplifier, and I haven't, I'm not going to go bother the gal. Just haven't seen the damn thing. Haven't heard anything from her other than we gave her a bunch of money to help with the funeral, and I'm glad we were all able to do that. You guys and me. We should be proud of ourselves that we were able to help this family. So anyhow, I did that, and I ended up having to use a stock 8 transistor board out of a regular, ICA kind of style cabinet, and the transistors are all clumped together. The advantage with the suite is there's so much heat sink, right? So we're spreading that heat out over a fairly decent hunk of aluminum. But I got to digging through the bone pile, and I found myself a stock relay. I'm really not a mega fan of these relays, but they fit in the location, and I'm like, I'm just going to run with it. So got the stock relay in there, and I replaced the output transformers, and I replaced all the satellite components that go around to make this work. These are 330s in here, 1000s in the output, 120 puffs over here. Replaced all of our 10 ohmers. I went through and completely recapped the amp, so now that it's got caps that are 25 volts instead of 16 volts. So this is now a voltable device. You can hit this thing with juice if you wanted to. I'm just kind of interested to see how this is going to operate with the stock tune and the stock output tune and stock input tune, which are still present. Now, I'm not going to lie, I kind of moved where the location of the stock input tuning capacitor is at, which is here. It'd normally be down, hidden underneath this little red row of wires. Makes it kind of a chore to get to, so I figured I'd just scoot it over a little bit, and that's going to add a little bit more inductor to it, but I'm fairly confident this is going to work. How well it's going to work, I don't know. I'm going to try that out just here in a few seconds. We dropped out one of the fuse holders in the back so I could actually have room to work on this final section if there was ever a problem. We put a body plug up here in the front where there was a stupid on-off rocker toggle switch which wasn't even hooked to anything, so we drilled a hole in the face of the amplifier to hook up a switch that doesn't go to anything. The fans are completely bypassed the thermocouple completely. The fans are all hooked up just on. Okay, so as soon as you flip the switch, your fans are coming on. That's the way it should be. We replaced all of our bias control resistors. They're all matched within 1%. And this has got HG transistors in it. So I'm just kind of interested to see what this is going to do. Normally I'd want to bring this on in stages. I would leave the bias neutralized, which I guess in theory I could do if I disconnected this wire, this wire, this wire, and the wire that's down underneath the positive wire. I could disconnect the bias, and I feel a little bit more safer about running that, and then I can go and measure it as we bring it into circuit, if that makes any sense. So I like to bring things on in stages, measured, controlled stages, but we're going to give this just a flat out run. There's a couple other things I don't like that me personally I don't ever build into my boxes, like the electrical runs between, let's say, this transformer here, this transformer here, the output wire, the combiner transformer, and the output transformer here. There's a huge difference in length, and there's a huge difference in length between this one to here and this one to here. I know. Now where we make up for that is in the reverse, and I don't think a lot of people think about that. You can have an imbalance in length on this side as long as you compensate for it on the input side, in theory. Okay, me, I just like everything balanced. just me. If we look, we have our combiner stage here, or our splitter stage transformer here. And then our output combiner stage is over here, opposite sides of the box. So we have our length of wire that comes out of our transformer here, but then our input stage is roughly the same distance away. That's where we achieve that balance in length. I'm not a big fan of that. If it was me, this would be sit directly in the middle, and this would be directly in the middle, and there's a whole lot of other things that we could change, to me, that would allow us to pick up a few more watts here and there. And let's say I make one small change here, and this allows us to pick up 10 watts. And this allows us to pick up another 10 watts. And this allows us to pick up another 10. And this allows us to pick up another 10. And then we pick up another 10 here, and then we pick up another 10 here. That's 100 more watts worth of efficiency that we've gotten out of a very piss-ass electrical device anyhow. Let's not lie to ourselves. The 2879 is not the hot shit on the block, and it hasn't been for decades. It's a very inefficient component that works marginally well, in my opinion, compared to most of the LD-MOS devices that are out now. It's pathetic how many components we have to support 8 devices versus 1. So, it's all the little small things. Like if we're going to go and we're going to pick up another, let's say 50 or 60 watts of output, or 100 watts worth of output by upgrading a power wire and a 2000 watt device, you know, that's still a couple percent of increase of efficiency. That's huge. So it changed the things I didn't like, added some stuff that I do like, and I'm going to see if we can get the Motley mix to work together. If I do leave this in this final combination the way this sits now, there's stuff that you got to do, like our output transformers. If we think about this, the way the fan kit is designed to work in the amplifier, you have the right way up, then you have upside down. So you have a single piece of wire that comes off the back of this transformer and comes back to ground. That is a lot of stinking weight. It's a lot of stinking weight to have supported upside down, hanging off of this trace material on the front of the transformer. So we're bouncing down the dusty, dirty road of the back country, or we're going down, you know, I-5 in LA, which is the shittiest freaking interstate in America as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, there's some roads in Chicago that could beat it though. Man, I-5 is rough. God damn. Anyhow, it's a lot of weight to have hanging on a hinge point. This is sitting on a board, and the only thing really supporting the front of this thing, even if it flexes just this much, you're going to get a fatigue point. So the transformers have to be secured front and back. Now, I'm very cramped for space because we were stuck with the stock trace sizes. Let me help you put this in a relative understanding of size increase. We're talking something that's almost double his width, double the width, a quarter longer, and 3 times as high, that we managed to cram into the same stock trace location. That makes sense? Now these transformers are what they call complete soldered. So they're soldered on the back, there's a trace provided for that, then there's 2 traces on the front in the stock location, here and here. So for them to ride upside down a country road, or down I-5 in LA, the 101 through LA, okay, not a big deal. These things were designed for a purpose, built to a standard that I have come up with, and for us to make them work in here took a little bit of thinking through. But I feel fairly confident by us just providing that little bit of support in the back, we've mitigated the flex issue. That flexing issue is big because that causes a cold solder joint, which eventually causes fatigue, which then we have a problem. So this is where we're going to start. I know I'm going to have to change this capacitor here, and I am almost positive the stock output tune is not going to be resonant. So we'll see what happens. This is just a fun little venture. This is an experiment to me. Remember, this is a complete burned up pile of dicks. So even if it doesn't work, I'll figure out how to make it work. And if I can't figure out how to make it work, it doesn't matter. It can go sit on the shelf and turn into parts. I don't care. The weekends are my time. I get to do with them whatever I want. So I figure I'd give it a whack. Okay, I got to clean up my workspace area. I'm going to get rid of all this trash now that we showed it off on video. All this stuff is going to go directly into the effet bucket. I might pull the metal clads off the transformers and stuff, but majority of this is just going to go right in the trash. It's all burned up resistors anyhow. I mean, there's a lot of refried taco beans like this going on the inside. At least there was. So remember where we started, and let's see where we end up. Well, this answers this question. The original question was, how many watts can we get it to do? So let's go ahead, let's do a little quick run around the band here. This thing was a mother humper to get tuned the way I wanted it to be. I'd say 1,000 watt slug in 1X, 1,000 in average, and a 5 watt slug in reverse back from the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. So we're going to lay this in a corner, obviously. Hello, in the corner. We'll go to 2X. Hello. It's just about on the stop peg from my angle. We're going to go down to 5. Hello. About 2100-ish. It's about the best that we're going to get out of this with the amount of time I want to spend fiddly farting around with this anymore. Just by changing the output transformers. I changed the input capacitance quite a bit, but it is what it is. It makes 2100 watts of peak power, and we're hitting it with the bench 2 pill. Right about now you guys are going, oh my god, BBI, how are you doing? You're using RG316. It's not even getting hot. Stuff is amazing stuff. I love it. I love this coax. Just like I like my RG400. And it's a lot easier to work with on the bench. It's small and tough, flame proof. It's good stuff. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Let me take the driver out of line and let's see what it does in normal person watts. So we're going to start out up here, right here. It's our input reflex slug from the 2950. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Wrong slug completely. Oh, I'm slipping. Brain is slipping. Right here, 5 watt slug in reverse. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. That's our input tune from the 2950 direct. Okay. Direct is important because now we're not metering the impedance bump between the 2 pill and everything else. So 2950 directly into the slightly modified suite. Okay, so we got that back down in 1,000 watts. Hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'll take and cruise that all day long. That's with this much drive. Hello, audio. Let me zoom in to help emphasize how dramatic that is. Okay. Both 1,000 watt slugs, one's in the Bird average RMS, root me cleared. Like I'm both smart. God, that guy. Every time I have to say RMS, I gotta point that out. Here we go. Okay, 1,000 watt slug in peak. And if you don't know what I'm making a joke about, there was a gentleman out there that decided that he wanted to be important and he wanted attention. So he went out and he Googled what RMS means, and he figured out that it means root mean squared. And then proceeded to run all over everywhere and said, oh, he doesn't understand the difference between average and RMS. Okay. Okay. So that's why I always make the root mean squared, because when I told the full story in a previous video, yeah, anyhow. Hello. We're turning that much input signal. Hello. into that much output signal. Now, because this is still biased, hello audio, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, hello 1 2, hello 1 2 1 2. We're in sideband, hello 1 2 1 2 1 2. Doesn't matter what you put into it. This is not modified to Class C. This is full up sideband capable. So let's change our drivers around a little bit. Widen up, please, so everybody can see what I'm doing. Change our drivers around a little bit. We're going to take the 2950 out of line. And we're going to hook up our Striker 490. It's got a single Toshiba 2879 in the back end of it. That's off. Turn this radio off. Turn this radio on. Hello, audio. Hello, 1 2. This is the way I suggest we run this box. Let me show you drive. Remember that 20 is 200 watts. Hello, audio, 1 2. Turn the amp on. Dramatic difference. Now I'm just going to put this out there. I think that we're going to see between 16 and 1800 watts with about 150-ish watts worth of drive. Hello, audio. Hello, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Ooh. Moral of the story is, put a little bit more drive in it and get all the way up to 2100 watts out of this box and not blow up. And because of the bigger transformers, we don't have the same heating issues with saturation problems. It's good to go. So, the last little bit of this saga very last little bit of this saga is we got to build a fan kit for it. I think I'm up for that challenge. What do you guys think? Let's go see what I've got sitting over here. Because some fan lid pieces came with this thing. I'm not too sure what condition they're in. Let's see what we can make happen, Captain. Well, here we are at the very end of this story. A completely burnt down pile of garbage turned into a decent amplifier. On a scale of 10 being the best, it's about an 8.5 to a low 9. What brings it down on that scale is the case, the tins. We got a little bit of rust down here on the edge that you can barely see, some in the back, just with all transparency. Just trying to be very clear with what I'm selling here. It has been dropped on this corner, but you'd never be able to notice it. I straightened all the side of the tin out. The tin, that is. The amp's perfect underneath that. It's got two very good all-body aluminum. Somebody put these in aftermarket fans. These are not stock. And then the other thing they did is they lowered this. They lowered the amp down. The stock 3 holes are up here. And it's the same way with all 4 attachment points for the amp. They lowered this down by an inch. Now by doing that, the fan sits really close to the floor, but we're still getting decent airflow out of the fins. We're definitely getting massive airflow out of the top. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll put like 100 watts in it. Hello, audio. 1 2 1 2. You take a little 1 pill or even a 2292 pill and put it in this thing, it'll make 2000 watts. It's a nice little box. It went from a pile of dicks, a bag of nothingness, a bunch of burned up garbage that wasn't working, and we transformed it into this. So at the end of the day, this has been a good exercise for me. I learned a little bit. Actually, I learned quite an awful lot, to be honest with you. Changing out the output transformers helped quite a bit. We got another, what, 400 watts out of the box by going to bigger output transformers and dropping the number of turns down on the transformers. Of course, you got to do that to compensate for the size of the transformer. So it is what it is. Gentlemen, I think I'm going to ask 800 for this plus the ride. So you're going to probably be looking at like 45, 50 bucks for the ride. I don't care where it goes, but it can't stay here. It's time for it to go. Now, on top of that, I left the power leads fairly short. Normally I'd have the leads long enough to where the amp could sit way over there on that side of the workbench, but I found a lot of you guys want me to clip on an Anderson clip on the back. And if that's the case, let me know when you call to get it. I will squeeze on an Anderson clip for you and backfill it with solder so it's done properly and put heat shrink on it and everything for you. That way you can be happy. Give me a call. First one to call or text, it's yours. Gentlemen, I got to run. It's Sunday afternoon. I got to sit down and edit the video out for all of you guys to look at. And I'm going to take the family on a bike ride. So you guys be good. Everybody survived the pandemic together. We're all in this together as a team. You guys, believe it or not, it's the United States and the rest of the planet. So it's just so disheartening to see what's going on in Washington these days. That's as close as you're going to get me to ever talk publicly about politics. It just makes me sad inside and sick. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Could have done right by humanity, but instead greed got involved like it always does. All right, I'm out of here. Gentlemen, you guys have a good weekend, what's left of it, and enjoy this next week of self-isolation. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.